What's up? Are you tired of announcements, Kratz?
Announcements? No, I love announcements, especially when I get surprised when they're that day. I love those announcements.
We have two. Number one, FT Heater starts again today. Every Tuesday, all year long.
I knew that one.
Number two, not telling yet.
That I don't like.
I know. Sorry about it. We are going to talk to Todd Kalas later about Ronel Blanco's no-hitter, but let's get into it right now, shall we? Let's charge the damn mound because we're not even... Charging the mound. I got to get used to that broadcaster. He's talking over the call. Ronel Blanco, no-hitter, 30 years old, debuted age 28, makes the team on the last day of spring training. And really, I think, AJ, the Astros are going to be fine.
Yeah, they had a bad start, but, I mean, this is cool because we had Blummer on yesterday saying how they're going to be fine. They played 4 okay games. They just didn't get to their middle relief. And yesterday, Blanco, at age 30, his 8th career start, I think it was, threw a no-hitter. Pretty awesome. Usually guys aren't allowed to throw this many pitches, but Joe Espada let him go, and great. Happy for him. Happy for, Yainer Diaz, who people said, oh, he can't catch because, for years, last year, Martin Maldonado is the only guy who knows how to call a game in the whole world. But yeah, good for him.
That's huge. I mean, a no-hitter, come on. I mean, this early in the season, too, you already threw your first no-hitter. This is probably the only guy on their staff that they would let go this long, maybe? I don't know. I mean, I guess Framber did it last year, so I guess they would have let him go. It's a good thing they didn't have a meeting. And I'd love to look it up. How many change-ups the Astros have called in the last 5 or the first 5 games of the year so far? They are loving. Maybe it's Yainer. Maybe Yainer calls the change-ups, but this guy came out of nowhere with a no-hitter. Definitely had the under on a no-hitter with the Astros after he started 0-4.
Isn't this the best way to alleviate the reliever depth pain that they feel like they might be suffering? Let's have your dude go 9.
Just go 9 innings. They're not going to let him, but yeah, it was cool. It was great. I mean, it was a great moment. It was a great moment for the organization, the team, Blanco especially. You see how happy he is. He had his mom, I think, on the field after the game, giving her a hug. I think that's who they showed. And then they interviewed Yainer Diaz after the game. He was super happy. Listen, it was cool. It was cool to see it, and it was the earliest one ever thrown, I think, in the history of Major League Baseball. So that part was awesome. Listen, it was just a cool moment. Anytime you throw a no-hitter, it's pretty cool, and because they're not expected. It's not like when you win something, a series or a World Series or a division, because you kind of can prep for that. But when a no-hitter, it's just everything goes right for that day. And, man, if I'm an opponent from now on, I'm throwing Blue Jays nothing but change-ups because they can't hit one.
Man, they did not make the adjustment. AJ, did you ever have somebody that you were like, there's no way this guy's going to throw a no-hitter and end up getting pretty close to it? Or is it always like, like a Yu Darvish, like a Burley, like a Freddie Garcia, those kind of guys?
Some guy named Phil Humber threw a perfect game, and that was like his moment. It all came together. In Seattle, 27 up, 27 down.
But was he hot going into that, or was he like?
No.
Because I know afterwards he was like, he even told me, he goes, that was it. Everybody knows that was the apex of my career, but that was it.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of 22 people to ever do it. What is it? 21 people have thrown it. I forget what the number is now, but it's like in the low 20s. To ever throw a perfect game, he's one of them. We can never take it away from him. He'll never, in Seattle, 27 up, 27 down, and listen, that was what people will always remember of Dallas Braden, right? Same thing. Dallas Braden threw a perfect game. I think it was on Mother's Day, and his grandmother was there, and who raised him. So I mean, again, it's not planned. It can't be planned. And then I had guys like on this day, and when I was with the Rangers, 2013, Yu Darvish 8 2/3 perfect. I thought there was no way he's giving up a hit, and then Marwin Gonzalez hit a ground ball through his legs for a hit and ruined the perfect game. So you just never know what's going to happen.
Last year, Domingo Germán. It's probably going to be the highlight of his career too.
That's why Armando Galarraga getting the one taken from him is such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. That one.
Same thing. What was Galarraga? Like a number 5 starter? 4 or 5?
I mean, at the time, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
At the time on the Tigers, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was in AAA the next year.
What year was that? 2010? Did they have Verlander, Scherzer, Anibal Sanchez, Porcello, Fister, probably?
Yeah. Was it that late? I thought it was
2010.
Look that up. It was 2010. Yeah, that's a staff. That's a staff. You were definitely number 5, if not in and out of that rotation. Which the next year he was. I really think he was sent down to AAA the next year.
That Tigers staff had Dontrelle Willis, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer,
Dontrelle Willis,
Jeremy Bonderman, Galarraga, Porcello. Good names. Guitar Hero specialist Joel Samaya.
Yep. All Toledo mud hens.
Yeah. We'll talk to Todd Kalas more later about the no-no. There was a signing. I feel like it got zero attention, but he had a pretty good year last year. Mike Clevinger back to the White Sox. You know what? Now I feel bad too. There was a fan in the chat when we were talking to Chris Getz who said, "Can you please ask about Mike Clevinger?" I'm like, whatever. Like, we just don't have time. There was a lot of other topics to get to. There were good questions going on back and forth. He signed like 5 days later with the White Sox. 1 year, $3 million in incentives. Robert Murray reporting on it. Is this trade bait if he pitches well?
They didn't trade him last year.
True.
So I don't know. The reason it got no attention is because does it do anything for anybody? I mean, no offense to Mike Clevinger, but the White Sox aren't very good. I mean, he's just another kind of guy in their rotation. Like last year when they signed him, you're like, oh, everyone thought they had a chance last year and they played awful. So I think that's why it's not that. If he would have gone to a different team that had a chance, it was like filling a 5th starter role for a good team, I think this would have gotten more attention. But because he signed with the White Sox and the White Sox, again, aren't very good, it's just, yeah, okay, cool. Good for you, Mike, and you'll probably be traded in July.
The reason it should have gained some notoriety is because it's just another guy who had to me, above average year. I think he had 3.77 ERA, put up 131 innings in 24 starts, so he didn't get all his starts. And he had to wait to sign till now. Like, to me, that's where the news is. If the White Sox get 25 starts out of him, it's because they didn't trade him at the deadline. He could be a guy that will help a team. I mean, he was on the Padres in 22 when they went to, a few games short of the World Series, and he was a big piece. I know he faded at the end that year, but a guy like this should be signed ahead of time.
Yeah, this sucks. How much should he have made? Give me a number if it's a normal
He's getting
year.
$3 million with $3 million in incentive. That's what the market was, so that's what the market is. I mean, I can always say he should have got $12 million, but that's not what he got. So he got what he got. I mean, it sucks, but it's the way the market. I mean, people thought Blake Snell was going to get $200 million, and Cody Bellinger was going to get $200 million, and Jordan Montgomery was going to get $200 million. But the market was the market, and you got to take what you can get. I mean, that's the bottom line. It sucks.
The best signings were Gibson and Lynn getting what, 13, 14, something like that. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa getting a 2-year deal for, is it 15, I think?
Victor Caratini getting a 2-year, $12 million deal. All
early
signings. Signing early.
Back. Victor Caratini got 2 years, 12?
Someone else got 2 years, 8 as a backup. I forget who it was.
As a backup catcher?
Mm-hmm.
2 years, 8.
I forget where it was, but there was another catcher that got 2 years, 8, I thought.
Like a good one or somebody like surprising? That you were like, whoa.
I mean, they're in the big leagues, they're good.
No, you know what I mean, like surprising. like a James McCann, somebody that was a starter and
yeah, I mean it was somebody you would have been like, oh, okay, that's a nice contract for them.
It wasn't Hedges, was it?
What Hedges get? He only got 1 year.
I think only 1 year.
It's just
1 year, $4 million for Hedges.
Which is kind of like whoa, because I mean,
right, for a backup.
Can't hit. I mean, but he starts for him now. I mean, because him and Bo Naylor are kind of splitting time, so it's not like he's a full backup. I mean, what I see, Bo Naylor had 8 or 9 at bats yesterday going into the game. I mean, which means he's played 2 games out of the, so I mean, Hedges is going to get to play, because Vogt's going to play him in Cleveland.
Yeah, he needs some kind of veteran out there for sure. But I think Clev should have gotten at least what he got last year. He got $8 million last year, and why will always be the question. Why did he not at least match what he got?
I agree. And it's one of the last few signings that we'll have.
Tom Murphy, he got 2 years. He was the one.
Oh
yeah. Kind of like both him and Garatini are guys that are like
2 years, 8.25.
Paying for if they play kind of thing, like what is it called, like per play stats, where it's like if they play more, their stats would be worth a lot more than that. But it's like, the whole overexposure, and with Tom Murphy, it's injury central for him. He's got to stay healthy.
Dude can hit. So that's the White Sox making a signing. They're 0-4. They've scored 8 runs. The Marlins are defeated. The Mets are defeated. Tyler McGill hits the IL with a right shoulder strain. Sean Manaea was good. They lost in extras to the Tigers, who are undefeated. Any of those stand out to you?
I mean, the Mets being 0-4 is a big deal, but Tigers being 4-0, all 3 1-run games, and then the extra inning game. So their pitching was what we thought they'd be. Pirates 5-0 is a big deal for the first time. Yankees 5-0 obviously is a big deal, especially because they started in Houston. But listen, I mean, it's good. It's always great to get off to a good start because you can't make those games up, but it's still for 4 or 5 games of the season. We'll see how it goes. But one thing was Sean Manaea pitched really well last night for the Mets. That had to be encouraging. Carson Kelly hit a big home run for the Tigers. The Yankees just keep on rolling. They're pretty good, even without Garrett Cole right now.
Do you think the Tigers can win the division? I was looking at their next 2 games. So Casey Mize looked really good in spring training. We'll see. But this is a guy who was a former number 1 overall pick. He pitched against the Mets tonight. And then they go back to the top with Skubal, who could be a Cy Young candidate if he stays on the mound. I mean, they could sweep the Mets and be, was it 7 or 8-0? 7-0?
This is the game that I feel like if they get it in with the rain, might be a little bit tougher for them, just because I don't know that you can go through and sweep the Mets this early in the season. I know the Brewers did it. I don't know that the Tigers are there yet. But to me, the starts that have the biggest implications for the rest of the season, I know it's only 5 games, but to me, this is the Tigers. The Tigers, you jump out to a hot start in the Central, NL Central for the Pirates, or AL Central for the Tigers. To me, you can distance yourself because everybody's just going to kind of beat each other up in that division. Not that they're awesome, but they're just going to hang around 500. And if you get a five-game winning streak at any point in the season, you kind of distance yourself from the rest of the division. And to me, that's what the Tigers are doing. And I think it's sustainable for them.
And ready for this? If they sweep the Mets, or even just take one of the next 2, their next series is 3 against the A's. And then they have 2 against the Pirates and then 4 against the Twins. I know it's early in the season. I get it. But for Pittsburgh, I mean, they had a great start against the Marlins. They're playing the Nats right now. Then they run into the Orioles, Tigers, Phillies.
Yeah, but again, if they're 5-0, that's 5 wins you can't take away from them. So they're already 5 up. And listen, as far as sweeping the Mets don't look like world beaters right now. I mean, let's be honest. Whose pitching staff would you rather have right now, the Tigers or the Brewers? I'll take the Tigers in that fight right now. I mean, the lineups, I think if you really dig in, are more similar than you think, especially if Parker Meadows is going to hit the way he's hit. Riley Green's healthy. Torkelson looks good. If they get anything out of Javi Baez, it'll be great for them. So, I mean, I think we picked them to kind of be around 500, but if they keep pitching the way they're pitching right now, they can win a lot of games, especially in that division.
Which team has a better chance to make the playoffs? Pirates or Tigers?
I would say the Tigers because every team in the Central right now, AL Central, is more beat up. Meaning the Twins are beat up rotation wise, bullpen wise. position player wise, so they're going to struggle early. Who else? Royals, okay. I mean, okay. White Sox aren't making the playoffs, and the Guardians are kind of just the same. No offense, they can pitch a little bit, but if they give up 3 runs, the game's over. So I think the Tigers have a great shot. And then you go to the NL Central, the Reds are a better team than probably anybody in the AL Central. You can make a case that the Cardinals are better. Obviously, the Cubs are better probably than any team in the AL Central. Pirates are better, clearly. I mean, I think it's a tougher division in the NL Central than the AL Central.
Yeah, I agree. Let's bring in Ken Rosenthal. We can ask him too. I know he talked about the Pirates on Fair Territory, and we did talk about the Pirates last year, Ken, and I was not buying what they're selling. This year, are you buying what they're selling? And do you think the Pirates or the Tigers have a better chance of making the playoffs?
I'm buying the Pirates a little bit more than I have in the past because of what we've seen so far from Jared Jones, with Paul Skeens now in the organization as well. But if you go back to something we wrote at the start of spring training, Stephen Nesbitt and I, ultimately this comes down to ownership. And will ownership at the deadline, if they're in it, be willing to increase payroll and do some things? They have not done that. And that story we wrote included some questions about their development, and they have had some fits and starts there. But it seems like things are on the upswing. And I remember in that story, Ben Sherrington, the general manager, telling me that they believe they have a number of players who will be major leaguers coming out of their farm system and some who will be impact major leaguers. So it looks good, but remember last year, the Pirates were 20-9. That's how they started, and then they kind of fell apart as the season progressed. So they've played 2 weaker teams so far. The Marlins, who are decimated by injuries to their starting rotation. The Nationals, who are still rebuilding. I'm not going to get carried away with 5-0, but I'm interested to see what they do. And as for the Pirates versus the Tigers, competitive-wise, I would go with the Tigers. I agree with AJ that they play in a more open division, a division that is more capable of winning for a team that is on the upswing. And they've done some things, too. They added Maeda, they added Flaherty, they have Marcana now, they acquired him in a trade, and they've got younger players who are somewhat more established than some of the Pirates guys. I'm talking about Riley Green and Torkelson. And with Tariq Skubal, they have what the Pirates hope Skeens can be, and that is an ace.
You talked about in your article a while ago in spring training about how the Pirates don't spend in free agency. If this continues, if obviously they're not going to go 81-0, I'm saying if they continue to play well, the Pirates, are they an organization that makes moves at the trade deadline that can, because they never want to give away their prospects that are super coveted and then they go somewhere else and they do super well?
They have not been that team, Eric. There's no question about that. They've been the team that trades young players, and at times it works and at times it doesn't. I'm sorry, they trade veteran players. They trade them for younger players. And we'll see what approach they take, because that is really the question, right? If your team is in contention in an expanded playoff format for a third or second wild card, well, they likely will be. They're not going to collapse, I wouldn't expect, by July. Well, I guess it's possible. But because of the format now, you have greater possibilities. And yes, the question then becomes, are you willing to take on a significant salary? It's something that they really haven't done. They've traded guys. They've traded Garrett Cole, and they've traded even younger players like Glasnow at times and Austin Meadows when they were trying to compete back under Neil Huntington. They did that for Chris Archer. But they traded McCutchen, Cole, I mentioned those guys, and others, right? So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what Bob Nutting is willing to do. They would say, we spent this offseason. We added a number of free agents. Well, the most expensive of those was Aroldis Chapman at $10.5 million for 1 year. Their most expensive external free agent under Bob Nutting, the most expensive guy they've signed from the outside, was Russell Martin years ago, 2 years, $17 million. I'm sorry, you can't simply build a team through your farm and through shrewd trades. At some point, you have to pay, and you have to pay with larger salaries and figure it out that way. It means taking on free agents. Well, if they're not going to do that, let's see them do it at the deadline when you can maybe add a salary or two.
That's mind-blowing to me. Russell Martin for $217. Anyway, Clevinger didn't exactly break the bank with his contract. Is this another? It's a good signing for the White Sox because they get somebody that can eat some innings, which I think they needed. But is this another example of somebody who had to me, even just an average year and should have kept his salary where it was and maybe overplayed his market? Or what have you heard about his signing or lack of ability to sign before this?
He had a pretty good year, I thought. But keep in mind, Eric, Mike Clevinger has had some off-field stuff. If you go back to Cleveland when he didn't follow the protocols and then got traded by the Guardians because he didn't report what he had done, his violations, to the team, and flew on the team plane while being exposed to COVID. Ultimately, that led to his trade to San Diego. And then last year, he was investigated for a possible violation of the league's joint domestic violence policy. Ultimately was found that not to have been disciplined. He was not disciplined for that. And ultimately, the White Sox went ahead and they had signed him already. They did not know of the investigation, and he had a year without incident. But these are things in his past. These are things that might give teams pause. Even though I know he wasn't disciplined, that stuff was all out there in the public. So he perhaps is an example of one of these many veterans who did not get what his market value should have been, but he had some qualifiers on him that some of the other guys we've discussed in recent weeks did not have.
Ken, did you see the news about Estuary Ruiz getting sent down by the Oakland A's? Do you have any thoughts on that? We're going to get into it later, but I know it's only a week into the season. Your thoughts?
I was surprised, and certainly he is a guy that did some exciting things for them last year. Led the American League in stolen bases. I saw David Forst's comment. He's their GM. He wants Ruiz to get on base more often and to maybe work on some things in the minor leagues. I don't know exactly how many players the A's have that are that much more impactful than Ruiz. I know he's not an impact guy per se. He doesn't get on base enough. But, yes, I was surprised by the move.
Let's get to the man who has already won the MVP for the 2024 season, Juan Soto. And something that we probably wouldn't be talking about, his defense. Like, Jackie Bradley Jr. is now the most coveted outfield coach in baseball? Or was there a precipice behind it? Was there kind of a moment where Juan Soto found out he wasn't good at defense and now he wanted to improve it? Or was it just a culmination of him wanting to be a really good player?
I don't know if there was a moment, but certainly he can read the metrics, and they were not good last year in San Diego. And he is entering his free agent year, right? So he knows that he will be judged not just by his offense, which of course is remarkable, but by his defense and base running to a lesser extent as well. And to that end, he did work with Jackie Bradley Jr., who remains a free agent this offseason. They talked about hitting, helping Bradley, and they talked about defense, trying to help Soto. And Soto mentioned to me in an interview I did with him for Fox on Saturday that it was important to him to improve his defense. He knew he needed to get better. Bradley obviously is one of the better defensive outfielders of the recent times, recent decade, and he did give some advice to Soto on basically arm slot with throwing, routes, going back on the ball, to the wall, a number of different things, some nuances that maybe had gotten away from Soto. Now, Soto had a shoulder injury in 2021 and kept him out early in the season for a couple of weeks. And Bradley believes that he formed some bad habits during that time and tried to compensate for the injury, and that's what led to some of his issues. Regardless, he's playing at a much higher level so far. We saw the game-saving throw on opening day. We've seen a couple of sliding catches, a couple of catches going back into the corner as well. So he is playing better defensively, and it really bodes well for him going forward as he gets toward free agency, because teams can now say, okay, this guy is not on the path to becoming a DH. He is a legitimate outfielder again. Even if he is an average outfielder to slightly above, that would be more than good enough to warrant the attention that he is certain to get on the free agent market.
Was he not getting this attention in San Diego? to his defense, or was it never really brought up when you guys talked about it?
That's a good question, Eric. And I didn't ask him that specifically, but it is something that kind of is lingering out there. Like, what happened to him in San Diego? Now, in 22, when he gets traded, he was a little discombobulated, right? And he had turned down the $440 million over 15 years for the Nationals. That probably was playing into his head. Then he was sent across the country, as pretty much as far away from his native Dominican Republic as you can get sent. And then last year, the Padres just never got untracked. And he had a good offensive season. He ranked 8th in the majors in OPS, but the defense was lacking. The base running was not as attentive as it should have been. And it just seemed like he kind of got away from himself. Now, you might say, well, what's the difference in New York? One difference is he got traded during the offseason, and he had time to get settled in a little bit. And hey, when you get traded a second time, you guys know this, it's a little easier than the first time. And he also knew it was coming and could sense that this was the path the Padres were going to take. So probably all of that plays into this. And yeah, free agency definitely plays into it as well. He knows that he has to get better, and he has taken steps to indeed make those improvements.
Ken, I know you touched on the Angels briefly in fair territory. I was reading your colleague at The Athletic, Sam Blum's article about Trout essentially not getting what he wanted in the offseason and really in spring training, right? He was more vocal than usual, said we'd love to get involved and get a little more aggressive. The Angels bought relievers in the offseason. They were definitely not aggressive. They cut payroll by $40+ million. Can we just say that they're rebuilding? Or for some teams, do they feel like it's a word that hurts marketing the franchise?
We can't say they're rebuilding. If they were rebuilding, they would trade Mike Trout. They would do some other things to maybe get younger and import younger players into their mix, into their whole organization. But that's not where they are. And one of the problems that they have is they're caught in between. They've got Trout on the payroll. They've got Rendon still. They have some other veteran players who would get them pieces in a trade. Taylor Ward is one of them. And yet they're still kind of trying to compete. They still sign a couple of relievers, as you mentioned. Robert Stevenson got good money, 3 years, $33 million. So they're half in, half out. And as we've learned in recent years, that's the worst place to be. If you're all in, great, you're trying to win. If you're not trying to compete and you go the other way, well, it's become a little bit more difficult under this current CBA to tank. And it's not as effective a strategy, if it ever was at all, for all teams, and it wasn't, just for some teams. So where do you go if you're the Angels? In my opinion, one more year of this, actually this should have happened a while ago, but they should explore trading Trout. I don't know what they can do with Rendon, but even a guy like Patrick Sandoval, a quality starter, you can get stuff for these guys. And yeah, it would require a step backwards, a step that Artie Moreno as owner is not willing to publicly make or publicly acknowledge that he's even considering. Well, this is why they are where they are, kind of treading water year after year after year. Doesn't matter who the manager is, doesn't matter who the general manager is. This is a team without a vision.
Ken, some in the chat asking if this is the time. Last question for you. Could Mike Trout get traded at the trade deadline? He had 2 homers yesterday. He's off to a nice start in the first week. You need to see that he's healthy over the course of the first half of the season. But if he looks like this, I mean, he's still one of the best players in the game. Would now be the time if the Angels are 10, 15 games under 500 when we get to July 31st?
That is a question for Artie Moreno. Now, it's a question I can have an opinion on, and my answer would be yes, now is the time. It was the time last offseason, if not the offseason before. Trout has to want it, and I believe he is getting closer to the point where he would be willing to entertain the possibility. But at the same time, this has to start with ownership, and it has to start with a willingness to listen to ideas and think about what it would take to trade Mike Trout, what it would require getting back, all of the things that go into this. And then, yes, Trout has a say in this. He has a full no-trade clause, so he can effectively direct his fate. And he has maintained all along that he wants to win in Anaheim. He wants to be like Derek Jeter. And while people criticize him for that, I sort of admire the loyalty. At the same time, Mike Trout wants to win. He's not just out there to collect stats. And fans can question that and they can say whatever they want about him. These guys don't get to who they are without being intensely competitive. He wants to win. And the question is, where will he win? And the answer is becoming increasingly apparent that it's not going to be in Anaheim.
Yep, good call. Ken, thank you very much. We'll chat with you later, all right?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal, fresh off Fair Territory, the latest on Monday. Includes a little bit of Angels talk, Astros, hope for the Pirates, more on Soto, and the Mets' tough start, which is still a storyline. There it is. If you're looking right now on YouTube. Otherwise, if you're on the pod, make sure you check out his pod, Fair Territory. And he does a special on Thursdays live with Alana Rizzo, and then that gets posted on his podcast page as well right afterward. All right, new seg. Ready? Called Believe It or Not. It's basically just stuff that either A, shouldn't happen, or B, is just absurd in the game. So we'll kick off this segment with AJ's favorite team. The Chicago White Sox are protesting a part of the game that maybe isn't necessary, I guess. Do you need a first base coach?
You have to have one, yeah.
But they didn't have one for a little bit.
The problem.
Let's show it.
Truist Park on April 8th. So how about this? We have a delay because there is no first base coach right now for the Chicago White Sox, which is quite incredible. Something that usually happens at a Little League game. It's supposed to be Jason Bourgeois. And so apparently he's not down there. They're yelling, anybody can coach first base.
Can Wiley Ballard coach first base?
I didn't know that was a rule, that you had to have a first base coach.
I have never, this is a new one. I've never seen this.
So they're going to send out somebody.
Meanwhile, Tyler Matzik is waiting to enter the game here in the bottom of the 8th after Dylan Lee pitched.
Did we ever get an explanation on what happened?
No one asked and no one said anything. I didn't see. At least I saw after the game. I just don't understand. I don't know what's more disturbing, no first base coach or the amount of fans that were in the stands. There was like 4 people in the stands. I don't know which one's worse, which one's more embarrassing. I know Jason Bourgeois, it's his first year. He came over from the Dodgers player development. Like, how does this happen? And the game was rain delayed, but they had already restarted. They had already played the top of the 8th, so it wasn't like a surprise. I mean, I guess he was in the bathroom.
Missed out on his pregame coffee?
Missed out on his rain delay coffee. I don't know. It's so weird to me that this I mean, of course it happens with the White Sox, but like, I don't understand. And then, just if they're like, just send anybody, there wasn't another coach that could have grabbed the little half helmet and ran over there. I don't know. Make it like Little League and just put a player over there.
Everyone in the chat has the same answer. There's only one real answer. You had to have a bathroom issue.
After a rain delay, I mean, he had a full half an inning already that when the rain delay came back that he could then, like, why then? How then? And Bourgeois,
how does nobody ask about this? How did nobody ask Pedro Griffola about this after the game? Maybe no one was paying attention? I don't know.
Maybe I just didn't see it. You're more locked into the Chicago Twitter sphere and stuff. If you didn't see it, I didn't see anything.
AJ, it's a 9-0 game. There's not much to ask about. You got your asses kicked. Is that not the first question that should be asked?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what happened in the first base coach delay? I mean, where's the first base coach? Normally he's usually all over Instagram. I follow him because we played together, and I like Jason a lot. But
it's such a minor league thing. It's such a minor league thing. We would get players to go over there, and nobody wanted to do it, and the umpires would always be like, no, we can't start. Got to have a first base coach. And somebody's like, grab your helmet. Now they have 4 coaches in AAA, so a coach doesn't coach first base. But for a while, it was a player that would go over to first base.
Do we need to wake up some Chicago media members, some of your friends? Who's the culprit? Merkin?
I don't know. I don't know. Merkin, I mean, Daryl Van Schoen.
Yep.
James Maybe they already wrote their articles.
Mark Gonzalez isn't there anymore, so I can't ask him. I don't know. I mean, I could send a text to like Len Casper and ask him where he was, but I mean, Jason Benetti. Oh wait, he's not there anymore.
He gone.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just crazy that this happens. I told the story where Tim Raines was coaching first and his phone was ringing in the dugout. That was amazing. As he was coaching first, that was an
Stop
all-timer. Oh yeah.
I think
Seriously?
you told this one.
Yeah, we were playing somebody, and all of a sudden we're in the dugout, we're hitting, and Rock was coaching first, and there's a phone ringing in the helmet rack, and we're like, and Ozzy answered, it was like, hello, and they're like, is this Tim? And he's like, no, this is Ozzy. Oh, this is, I forget who it was. No, he's fucking coaching first right now. He can't answer his fucking phone.
Was it ringing or was it vibrating?
No, it was ringing. Like the ringer was on full blast.
Are you allowed to have your phone in the dugout?
You're not supposed to.
Not
That was one of the reasons they weren't very happy about that.
It's like the Rodolfo Castro. Oops,
Yeah, where he
it's in my
slid?
back pocket.
Yeah, I've never
Oh,
seen that.
yeah. It came
That was
out
last
of his
year, right?
pocket.
Or was that 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Damn.
It was in Arizona. I remember that. I remember it slid out, and he was like, the umpire was like, hey, your phone.
Hey, you're boo. She called.
That's crazy to me. That I worry about a lot of things. My socks not matching, my shoelaces not tying, and like nightmares for dreams. Not once was I ever like, man, I hope I remember to take my phone out of my pocket. They don't even fit in baseball pockets very well. You can't sit down. They pop out if they're in so you can sit down. It's just not, yeah.
Well, you won't see him now because the uniforms are so see-through that you'd probably be able to read text messages.
Who's calling?
Yeah, you'd see it all. One more. I want to spend some time on this. Estuary Ruiz is an upper echelon prospect acquisition for the A's. Now, will he be an impact player like Ken talked about? Not sure. His StatCast metrics are not great. He doesn't hit the ball hard. You know, there's things that front offices look at that they'd like to see him do better. He doesn't have a strong throwing arm. He is fast as hell. And he was hitting 429 in 5 seconds. And they sent him down. There is uproar right now. Let's first hear from A's manager Mark Kratz, and then we'll get into it.
Just from your perspective, I know you said you guys both talked to Ruiz sending down. Just what was kind of the message as you talked to him today?
Yeah, my message for Essie is he's going to go down. He's going to lead off. He's going to play every day. He's going to go down and dominate that, that level. And those are my expectations. He's worked really hard. He's continuing to work hard and buying in on the adjustments that we've asked him to make, and now it's just going down and showing us that those adjustments, are going to lead to the offensive output that we're looking for from him.
Why didn't you do this when the season started? Why do you wait till now?
Well, we obviously claimed a new player today in Tyler Nevin, and in terms of the roster construction, we started the season out with Esty. We had sustained a big injury with Miguel Andujar at the beginning of the year, which gave Esty an opportunity, obviously, to be on this team to start the season. And in acquiring Nevin today, it gives us a chance to have Esty go down and play every day, not sit here and come off the bench as he's done a couple times, and just give him an opportunity to go play every day and go down and really show these adjustments are going to lead to the success we're looking for.
All right, so let's go over David Forst, GM of the A's. Quote, "We saw some better at-bats this spring, but the reality is to use his skills, he needs to get on base. He needs to be able to do that on a consistent basis. I'm hoping leading off every day at AAA. It's not a long stay for him down there." Our friend Trevor May, who was a teammate of Estuary Ruiz last year, said if he would have just gotten to 80 bags last year. And then Matthew Pouliot, who commented on this, is a fantasy writer, said, "I don't think Ruiz has any real major league upside unless he somehow improves his defense. That's the real issue. It's why I'm not knocking them for sending him down. That said, this is a weird excuse, especially given what he did in the 8 plate appearances that he gave him. Feels like the real reason they sent Ruiz down is that they couldn't get ownership approval to release Abraham Toro after guaranteeing him $1.275 million. And then one fan here for the people. Justin was replying to one of these tweets. A fan who did some research said, spent 5 minutes on Baseball Savant to see if there was any real truth to this. To start the year, I don't think it's crazy to say he has had only a single poor swing choice to start the year. Of the 30 pitches seen so far, he's only swung at a ball out of the zone. Fishy optics. I mean, even if they didn't want him on the big league team, isn't this just a tough look after the first week of the season?
Yeah, it is. Listen, Kratz was saying what the organization said to say, but there's no way they're going to lose 100 games. So why not just let him play if he's going to still a prospect, why not just let him play center field every day and see if he can improve it at the major league level? So he goes to AAA for 3 months and he hits 340 and steals 100 bases. Then you call him back up. He's still got to relearn in the big league. So, I know his defense, they said, was poor. They said his on base. I get all that, but man, if he does what he does, I mean, he's not going to hit 400, 420 plus, but still, at least let this guy figure it out at the big. And I understand they claimed Tyler Nevin and they needed a roster spot, but gosh, if he's a prospect for you down the road, let this figure it out in the big leagues and then go from there. And you know what? This is a wasted year anyways for the A's. So if he doesn't figure it out, just get rid of him in the offseason. Nobody will care then if he has a bad year, but to have as many stolen bases as he has and do what he did, and he was kind of like their one exciting player. But there's also a conspiracy theory, Scott, I know you want to get into.
I didn't say I was going to get into it, but I could. Also, though, just one other point. He was the prize of the Sean Murphy deal. This is a big, big trade for them. They could have had Joel Payamps and William Contreras. And they chose Ruiz. So you would think that they're going to put him in a position.
They also got
succeed.
Langoliers, though.
Right.
So they weren't going to get two catchers in Contreras and Langoliers in one trade.
They got Pena. They got Pena in the same trade, didn't they? It was a three-way deal. Manny Pena went to Oakland, never played. He got hurt. So they got – that's what I remember it being.
Also, Langoliers was in the – what? Wasn't he in the Olsen trade?
Oh, he was in the Olsen
trade. But I get what
you're
saying. They already have a guy.
They had their catcher that they assumed was going to be the catcher of the future. They're not going to go for William Contreras.
Sure. Yeah, our friends at Last Dive Bar have wristbands like we do for FT, and they screenshot Ruiz wearing a wristband and said, maybe this is why, because he's for the people.
There's plenty of people that are wearing those wristbands. I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist, but the whole Abraham Toro thing, that is probably – that's fair. It's one of the people that are making over – one of the guys on the team that's making over the league minimum. So that's fair. If his money is guaranteed, I appreciate that. But I can't sit here and get on board with what Kratz read, his prison statement that he read from the ownership saying, yeah, well, this is the reason that he made the team out of camp was because of Miguel Andujar's injury. He didn't have a spot on the team after he had 68 stolen bases last year, 69 stolen bases. I have a hard time believing that a team that is essentially running a AAA team in the big leagues is not going to have him on the team. It's like saying, well, Brent Rooker was struggling the second half, so we thought about not calling him up, but he had a good spring, so we ended up having him on the team. These are guys, like AJ said, let them play. Let them play in the big leagues. Maybe if you want JJ Bleday to be your center fielder, that's fine. But Tyler Nevin is kind of a left fielder. I know they claimed him, but Esteury Ruiz did more in the big leagues last year than Tyler Nevin did.
Yeah, what am I missing? Also, what does it set for the team, or does it not matter? I mean, don't you have to at least wait until the guy simmers down? If you're in the clubhouse, do you give a shit, or you're just like, whatever?
I mean, what are they going to say? If you're in the clubhouse, what are you going to say? You got a bunch of young guys. I mean, other than Alex Wood, Ross Stripling, who else is going to say anything in that clubhouse? No one else is going to say anything. They're just happy to be in the major leagues, and they're like, oh man, if I say anything, I might go too. So there's nobody there to say anything other than Wood and Stripling, and Wood's gone quiet the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And Stripling we've had on the show, but he's all business. He's not going to say anything either because he just got traded there, so he wants to pitch because he's going to get a chance to be a free agent and make some money. So I think they just do what they want to do, and nobody talks about it. And it's nice to see the outcry on Twitter, or X, and Instagram and all that. But It's not going to change anything. They're going to do whatever they want to do. We've already learned that about the A's.
I mean, last year, on-base percentage leaders for the A's, Noda was 364, Rooker was 329, Jace Peterson 313, and he was traded. And then Ruiz was 309. So from that team coming back, he's third. It's not a good number, but it's better than the rest. Someone took a screenshot yesterday of the game because they got destroyed and had 5 errors. And a lot of the batting averages were like 0, 129, whatever. Again, we just started, but I mean, the dude hit. It's just weird to send a guy down after, he's hitting 429 in the first week of ball. It's just strange.
It is very strange. And like AJ said, what's the upside? What's the upside to go down to AAA and dominate a league that can't contain what he can do? Like, what are you looking at for him to improve? Is it not swing out of the zone? Is it not, what are you looking at from him on defense? Because he's going to be the fastest guy on the field. He's the fastest guy on the field when he's in the big leagues.
Yep, good call. To be continued, maybe. All right, let's have some fun. We have an announcement to make, and we are going to bring in a special guest to make that very announcement. A good friend of the show. He's been around for us for the first year to break down prospects. So let's bring in Baseball America's JJ Cooper. Oh, he's stoic.
Can you hear me? Hey, guys.
There you go. JJ, what's up? How are you?
Hey, now I'm here. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Hey,
all right,
buddy.
we're excited. Ready for this? Ready for the announcement?
I am, even though it may seem like I'm not, because I'm just sitting here staring at my camera like an idiot. But
you look
I'm
great.
here. I'm excited, and I'm ready to go.
All right, let's do this. So Foul Territory and Baseball America are partnering for some comprehensive content that you'll see on the Baseball America YouTube channel. That includes prospect profiles and the debut of a new show. And you might love the hot sheet emails that you get weekly via Baseball America. Now you will get a weekly digital show via Baseball America. JJ will be the star. I'll be along with him and Ben Badler, Carlos Collazo, and many more members of the Baseball America fam. Live 3 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesdays on Baseball America's YouTube channel. If you're watching FT, just like we do on the FT network, it'll take you right to the BA Hot Sheet Show, and we'll get into Jackson Holiday, marinating in the minor leagues, an update on the top 100 prospects, and many more storylines. So first off, we're excited. JJ, I guess congratulations, or, let's make this partnership official. We're excited to work with the Baseball America team, which is an iconic brand.
And we're excited to work with you guys. I mean, as you said, I've loved being on the show over the last year, kind of plan to continue doing that as well. But it's exciting to kind of be able to talk to our fans, talk to our viewers in a different way, and hopefully kind of provide insights into what we love to do, what you guys love to do, but what we love to do also, which is we want to tell you about the stars of tomorrow. We want you to know about them before everyone does. And that's what we're going to do every Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Absolutely. And I know Hot Sheet has been a very popular email in your world. Many people look forward to it each week. So, of course, we'll blow that out, but we'll also talk draft, international prospects, etc. So can you give us a little preview of what to expect for the 3 o'clock show? Anything you're most excited to talk about, or anyone from the BA team that you're most excited to speak with?
No, I think I'm really excited. We have a new top 100 coming out at the end of this week. We're going to give a little sneak peek on that, kind of, what's kind of to come with that. We've had a lot of us spending a lot of time on the backfields in spring training over the last month. So we're trying to kind of give a little bit of the insights from that. But I'm also excited to have Carlos Collazo on. We're going to talk about the draft and kind of the race for number one in a very jumbled, I would say very interesting year. And by the way, with that, we also have the release of the bonus pool. So we know who has the most money to spend, speaking of that 2024 draft. So we're going to dive into all of that on the show.
You said you're on the backfields. Did you actually see something that you did not think you were going to see when you guys were all in those backfields? I know it. You guys always, you lean towards James Wood got sent down. Let's head over there because I got to see him on the backfield. Well, you saw him in the big league camp. You didn't need to see him on the backfield. Who surprised you?
Well, it was cool to see Leo Dallas DeVries for the Padres because that's a 17-year-old just turned 17, just signed, and they've already brought him up to the camp instead of keeping him back in the Dominican. So that was interesting. But more than that, I would say like Logan Evans with the Mariners, who at this time last year was kind of struggling through his fourth year in D1 with Pittsburgh, and was kind of like seemed like a kind of dime a dozen, weekend starter, and it was 91, 92, touching a 3. And now you see him on the backfields, and he's a fire-breathing monster who's 96, 97, 98. 6 pitches, if you count the 4-seam and the 2-seam, which kind of, seems almost maybe a little bit too much down the road. But it's another Mariners pitching success story, I think, of a guy who comes into Seattle, already had some feel, already had some command, and then they said, hey, why don't we give you 3-4, extra miles an hour? And all of a sudden you're going, whoa, what is this dude? And where is he going to go now?
No, just 3 or 4 miles an hour. That's neat. Scott said when he was talking about all the stuff, the whole Jackson Holiday, is he marinating or rotting in AAA? And does he really need this much defensive work that he needed to be down there?
I think as much as anything, I mean, you can be understandably cynical about it, but the Orioles are running a risk here, like in that if they call him up and he does, if they say they're going to keep him down there for a month and play some service time games, and then he comes up and he does well enough to be Rookie of the Year, well, then he's going to get that year of service time anyway. I feel like as much as anything, what they're doing is kind of trying to delay some of these decisions. The problems that they have in a lot of ways are, we saw Jordan Westburg, who probably would be one of the guys who would lose out on at-bats. Jordan Westburg just hit the walk-off last night. They have too many guys for too few spots. And I often these things kind of, solve themselves. We saw with the Rangers and Young, being the broken wrist yesterday, where all of a sudden they need to fill in. Well, the Orioles are healthy right now, but I don't think he's marinating as much as they're kind of putting him on pause. And if that's for a couple of weeks, it probably doesn't hurt anything. He only has 700 pro at-bats. But if it's for too long, it does seem like I don't think there's a ton that Jackson Holliday is going to learn from AAA that he can't learn experiencing in the major leagues as well. This is a guy who's just incredibly advanced for his age and is probably not going to be overawed by any situation he gets put in.
JJ, what's your take on Estuary Ruiz? I know the A's have had trouble during their rebuild right now, and the optics are fishy, but what do you think?
It's hard for me to understand what they saw while he was hitting 429 over a weekend where you said, oh, okay, well, clearly now we have to send him down. It wasn't something that we saw in spring training, and so we broke camp with a different roster. But now that we've seen him hitting 429 with a bracelet on his arm, maybe now we need to work on this in a way that we didn't a week ago. It does seem odd. It does seem fishy. And it just seems like another one of those kind of almost unforced errors like that the A's seem to be making, especially kind of at the very high levels, at the ownership levels over and over and over, where you just kind of, even if there is kind of an innocent explanation, which again seems hard to explain when he's hitting 429, you have to also understand you don't get the benefit of the doubt right now. And when you are a team that has more errors than hits right now, sending down a guy who is hitting 429 does seem to be sending a very odd message.
JJ, you're a conspiracy theorist like Scott. I get it. Totally, totally cool. What we hit on Holiday already, but who's going to make their debut first, Paul Skeens or Jackson Holiday?
I would say Holiday, just because not that Skeens couldn't be up in the next couple of weeks. I mean, his debut kind of showed like, okay, if you want him to kind of get to the big leagues, it's not like this is going to be something that overwhelms him either. But I look at Holiday and I just kind of feel like that call is coming really soon. Whereas with a pitcher, especially any pitcher, I can understand kind of a little bit more of taking it a little slower, taking a little bit of hesitation. Especially, hey, credit to the Pirates, off to a good start, and their rotation right now looks so far pretty solid. So I think it's probably, I would say, holiday over schemes, but we're obviously one injury on either side away from kind of completely jumbling my prediction there.
JJ will answer fan questions every week on Hot Sheet about their favorite prospects or their favorite team and the farm system that they're operating, but I'll mix in a couple right now. Trey says, what do you think about Jose De Paula from the Dodgers?
I mean, we have a piece up today that Josh Norris, speaking of the backfields, when he was kind of bouncing around, and he was talking about just how that is one of the best young hitters in all of the minor leagues, and you saw it again this spring. He is a guy, when we do this top 100 update, that I think I would be keeping an eye on. But this is, yet again, the Dodgers are doing it. The Dodgers do everything well, but one of the things they do very well is help really talented hitters get better and better, and DePaul is a guy who is, it would not surprise me at all if by the end of this year we're talking about him as one of the best hitting prospects in all of the minor leagues.
Okay, and then one from Patrick. Will we be seeing Ricky Tiedemann soon for the Toronto Blue Jays, their young pitching prospect?
I'm encouraged by the fact that Tiedemann, like the biggest thing about Tiedemann's always been, can he be healthy and can he be stretched out? Because they really didn't let him get stretched out last year. So far, so good on that. He is healthy. He is starting. I think that I would say kind of more of a mid-season ETA. Obviously, again, all of these are up to kind of a little bit dependent on team need, but I do think that they need to get him stretched out more. You want to see him going 5-6 before you bring him up to the big leagues, unless you're going to just throw him in the pen, and I don't see why you would not want to try to start him. And with that being the case, I think he needs a little bit of time. Let's let him get kind of lengthened out, because he really never did that last year, and because of injuries, he really didn't get much of a chance to do that the year before that as well. The problem with a lot of these guys coming up through the minors, the way the development goes right now, especially if a guy has an injury, is you're kind of heading into their rookie year, and you're kind of asking the question of, well, how many innings are you really comfortable that you're going to be able to get from this guy? And the funny thing about that, we were talking about Skeens a minute ago, but I kind of feel like Skeens is maybe a little bit more prepared than some of the guys coming up through the minors, because he was on it was once a week, but he was on I would describe it as a kind of a more of a heavier workload. I don't think it was an excessive workload, but he was going 100, 105, 110 pitches. He was going deep into games last year. Well, that's something that a lot of teams don't let their guys do in the minors. And if you combine going 4 or 5 innings a lot with getting shut down every now and then, kind of for designed weeks of rest and all that, you turn around and a guy's got 80 innings. And if a guy's got 80 to 90 innings, how much can you be comfortable that you're going to get 140, 150 out of him in a rotation the year after that?
JJ, I'm excited for this show, but I just want to tell you that when this show blows up like Baseball America blew up in the minor league clubhouses, guys waited for that bundle of paper. So they're going to be waiting for every Tuesday at 3:00 for you to say their name. So if you don't take that pressure upon yourself and give some to Scott, it's going to be too much, because there is so many people waiting in the minor leagues, in the big leagues, whatever it is, fans, to hear their player, their favorite player talked about. So I'm just saying, this is a lot of pressure on you.
I think the plan that we need to do is every week we're going to rattle off 50 prospects for an org. So, we'll cover it, over the course of the season. I'll give a sentence on each of 50 guys, and we'll still, by doing that, be leaving out another 115 who'll get very annoyed about it. So yeah,
you can run credits.
I can feel the weight of that pressure.
Do like 23 guys, so that everybody in the org can be like, I knew it. I heard JJ was going to say my name at 24. So I'm totally fine with that. I'm the 24th prospect. He only goes through the top 23. So that's what guys will do down there.
That's a good plan. That's a good plan. It's just basically like, hey, we're going to roll out we ran out of time, so
yep.
We would even have covered more, and you know that you would have been the next guy.
And he doesn't have to carry
we ran out of time on a show that doesn't have a time limit, So.
Exactly. That's a good call. Yes. We'll run credits too at the end and say we love all of these prospects. We love your team's favorite prospects, but also he doesn't have to carry the team on his back, because he'll have Carlos Collazo, Ben Badler, and many others joining us. Those two will join us later today. JJ, again, so excited to have you on board, obviously, and be partnering with Baseball America, FT and BA, coming up later on today with Hot Sheet. Thank you for joining us for the announcement, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you, guys. Looking forward to watching the rest of the show. And then, again, everyone can just come on over, and Scott and I'll just keep on going.
Yes, exactly. That's the plan. So the rest of those questions will come up on BA's Hot Sheet. We'll see you soon, JJ.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. There it is again. JJ Cooper, Ben Badler, Carlos Collazo. I'll be on there later, 3 o'clock Eastern time on BA's YouTube channel, podcast version, audio-wise, wherever you get your pods right after the show's done. And some of the topics that we'll get to include holiday, top 100 prospects update, and draft names to know. There's a big name to know in the college baseball world right now, and we'll get into it a little bit later on. Cool. Hot corner time. Once the sizzle starts, you can't take it back. So we'll start with the broadcaster curse. I'm curious. We have someone on this show that calls games on weekends. So do you get shit if you mention something? Do people send you messages ever and say, don't talk about a no-hitter or don't mention? I know it's stupid,
I don't care,
but...
to be honest with you, what people send. I think it makes me laugh because, I mean, I really don't. People tweet at me and whatever. I mean, I had a thing with Orsillo this past weekend, who's a really good friend of mine, and where I asked for his combo, his locker, and people were like, get this bum out of the stadium, and like, dude, like, and Orsillo's like, this is great. And I said Chapman on the air. Chapman is comparable, if not better, than Manny Machado on defense, and Padres fans went crazy on me. And I'm like, well, 4 Gold Gloves to 2. I mean, you tell me who's better. And you know, and then it's like I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm not going to bash anybody on a national broadcast, and I'm going to just say what my opinion is or what's happening in the game. So, like, you know, great. I hate every team and I like every team. I mean, it's that simple.
But you know how it is.
I know exactly how it is.
Baseball has the homerism. Like,
of course,
grip.
Everyone loves their own homer, their own announcers, and you should, because you hear them most of the time. But I don't believe in this at all. I don't believe in the curse of announcers, broadcasters, whatever. Because do you really think that me saying something has anything to do with what happens on the field? It has nothing to do with anything.
What if it's so empty that the batter hears you? If it's like that White Sox game.
I mean, I'd have to be talking really loud, or I'd have to be using Kike Hernandez's pitch count.
or that hitter has to be an absolute idiot for not knowing that it's a no-hitter. And what are you supposed to say? They haven't gotten on base with the bat yet? Like, what are you supposed to – what's the vernacular you're supposed to use?
Oh, we're going to talk about it when Todd Kalas comes on later, because I watched that game. And him and Jeff Blum would not say no hitter. They said everything. I'm going to ask him about it, because it was like he only walked the leadoff hitter and nobody else has gotten on base, and there's a 0 in a column. And I'm like, dude, just say there's a no hitter. Like, we got it.
It's not going to change it. It does not change it.
We just need to hear from guys that have played that you don't get affected by it. So here's the example we're talking about. And if you're watching right now, it's on the screen. And this was from our Twitter. We're live tweeting the games every night if you want more info. The Phillies broadcast moments before the Spencer Steer grand slam in the 10th inning that won the game for the Reds. Quote, no grand slams for Spencer Steer. Let's hope that continues.
I don't know who gave it up, but make a better pitch. I mean, that's you think the pitcher heard that and goes, oh, I'm nervous. Like, no.
Brogdon was nervous before that. Brogdon was nervous as he stepped on the mound. Like, he didn't need whoever T-Mac say it, or Crucker, whoever's in the booth, to say that. And they didn't hear him. So that's, I don't know. I don't know why that has always been, hey, don't. I understand sitting in the same place during a no-hitter. I understand, like, physical, actual things that the players who are affecting the no-hitter or the grand slam, I can understand that. I don't even think that's superstition. I think that's preparation. But AJ saying it on a Saturday Fox game that so-and-so has a no-hitter, no idea. No idea.
Only way you would have had a sliver of hope with Padres fans is if you said every player on the roster is going to the Hall of Fame. The Padres are about to win 10 World Series titles in a row.
Dude, first of all, we had Dylan Cease pitching the game I did. Who, of course, I'm going to pump him up. I like Dylan. He was a White Sox, and I know him, and I like him a lot. I think he's a really good pitcher. So, and then the other guy, I know Manny. I talked to Cronenworth, Tyler Wade. We have out on the show.
Yep.
I played with Yu Darvish. I played with Xander Bogaerts. I played with Jerks and Profar. I'm not going to bash those guys. I like those guys.
Yeah.
Right? It's like. Dylan Cease was pitching a certain way, and I'm like, okay, well, he needs to try maybe something different. I've talked to him personally about that. It's not that big of a deal, right? And then the other side, Lee hit a homer, Conforto hit a grand slam. Like, what am I supposed to say? Chapman made really nice plays defensively. Like, okay, like, oh, no, Manny's better because it's going to hurt. Like, no, like 4 Gold Gloves to 2 is my, is the equalizer for me. Whatever. It made me laugh because I remember Don texting me. He's like, did you really say that Chapman was better than Manny? I said, defensively. He's like, oh, that really changed the direction of our back and forth on Twitter. And I'm like, I don't care. And he's like, I know that, but nobody else does.
I have a question for our fans in the chat right now. When you're watching your team on a broadcast with your local broadcasters, do you want them to only say positive, nice, amazing things about everything going on with your team? I'm genuinely curious because I grew up in the New York area, right? In the tri-state area. So we're mostly getting Mets games, Yankee games, some Philly games, stuff like that, right? You're getting a lot of Northeast. And most of those broadcast teams don't really beat around the bush. I know there are some broadcasts where the team's going to lose 100 games and they're like, well, this prospect is swell and he'll be great one day. Which, like, okay, that's fine for a little bit. But don't you want to get real analysis on your team?
Yes. I want real analysis, but I think sometimes because the same announcers constantly are seeing the same guys make mistakes more than they're seeing them do really well, I think sometimes they do get a little too negative, certain announcers. And I think that is a product of just being around a guy. It's the product of seeing people make a mistake or make an out 7 out of 10 times. That's why I like the national broadcast, because these guys are coming in and they're trying to paint this picture for you from more of like an AJ's standpoint. Like, I've actually played with these guys. I've come and talked to these guys, and you get that different perspective as long as they do a good job of actually talking about the game and not just the rhetoric that they, came into the game with.
Yeah, I brought up the Mets broadcast in the chat. I catch a decent amount of Mets games growing up and now, and it's basically been the same broadcast team forever. When they suck, they essentially say they suck.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Everything sucks, though. That's my issue with them. Everything sucks. The other team sucks. The weather sucks.
Really? You feel that way? I don't feel that way. When they're rocking, they're rocking. It's just that there have been way more negative times.
Let's also not forget
times.
that most local broadcasters are paid by the team. So they are told what to say and what not to say.
How much is that? How much are they told what to say? Because when I worked for the Phillies, granted, it was radio. Granted, it was 32 games, I think. And they were like, look, you be you, and we'll let you know if you go outside of the borders.
I can chime in on this one. I was at an interview, a final interview with a team about being their broadcaster. They had their top executives on the line. And the biggest part of the quiz in the interview was how you're going to talk about the team since they were going to be bad. They were like, let's get some script from you. How do you talk about this? Let me hear you hype the prospects. It's late in the season. How are you speaking? So yes, that was the interview process. They wanted to hear how you did it, and they wanted to basically make sure that you were aware before you even got the job that it is your job to hype the team. Period.
Okay.
True.
Not all of them do that.
Not all of them, but I've heard from more than one that have been told, hey, we had to talk about this a certain way. We have to talk about this a certain way. We have to make the team look good, especially early in the year. When it gets later in the year, then it goes to like who they have coming up, and they do more minor league stuff like, oh, we have this prospect coming, and this guy had a good week, and oh, this guy's having a good week on our big league team, even though there might be 24 guys that are being crappy. There's one guy, and they're going to focus on that one guy to make it look like everything is right. And it's just they're team employees. Like MLB.com writers are team employees, right? It's just the way it is. I mean, I'm sorry. MLB TV, the guys on MLB Network, they're league employees. They're not going to say anything bad about the league. That's just how it is.
Are they going to talk about Esteury Ruiz today? That's not even a bad one, but I'm saying
probably I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Probably not.
Probably not coming up. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's just different. It depends what you're into. I'm curious from the fan perspective. Like if you're watching a 100 loss team, do you want it to be all positive vibes, or do you want some, man, this team is terrible right now? You know, even if you're like, yo, we're hoping for better times ahead, but I don't know. I want real talk. That's me. Michael Kay on Yankees games is a radio broadcaster, so he'll usually give you a pretty strong take. Last year, I think he was pretty critical of the team.
Yeah, Michael Kay, yeah. There's certain markets you can get away with a little more because they expect it more. Now, you go to St. Louis, or just for them as an example, and you start criticizing them because the fans are so positive, you're probably going to get in trouble.
Yeah, I
don't know that, but you go to New York, they expect you to be a little bit more negative if things are going bad. It's just it also depends on where you are. Now, I haven't listened to an A's broadcast, but I'm assuming today they're not going to talk about Esteury Ruiz.
Probably not.
All right. I mean, I don't think that they're going to say, well, you know, he got sent down because he was wearing a wristband, or like they're just not. They'll say, hey, he got sent down. It's like the Shohei thing, right? The Shohei gate thing with Ipe as translator.
Yeah. Well, that was even on the
ESPN
national
barely
broadcast.
talked about it. They were like, this happened, and all right, let's throw it down to find out more on a translator to whatever the guy's name was in the dugout, right? I mean, they mentioned it, and I don't know that Joe Davis and Oral mentioned it I don't know because I didn't watch it, but I don't think the Padres, because I was flipping back and forth because I didn't get the Dodgers for some reason, so I only got the Padres and ESPN, and I was kind of flipping, and I didn't hear the Padres mention it either. So I don't know. It's just weird how certain things just don't get talked about.
Last year, the Orioles won over 100 games. And their broadcaster was suspended for saying that they weren't good in the past. That's all you need to know. All right, let's get to a fan question. Matamba, and I encourage fan questions. We will mix them in from Instagram if you send a DM to the FT IG handle. Obviously, we mostly answer questions on YouTube, but here's one. I'd love a topic discussing why the game keeps getting more and more shitty. Uniforms suck. I mean, this is very negative. Players using random colors on cleats, random socks, obstruction calls, pitch clocks. So it's total get off my lawn status. This is a fan who said he played D1 baseball in the Pac-10 and a little bit of pro, and it's so different. And he was just saying he's big fan of the show, but that he just doesn't like the stylistic and rule changes in the game. I understand some parts. I mean, the uniforms, I think you have a very strong case. Obstruction, we've gone over the contact rules. For me, pitch clock is awesome. I mean, I think we're in agreement on that, right? We all have agreed that the pitch clock has been helpful for the game. Sure, can you criticize the 2-second difference this year that they implemented to add another layer? But overall, that's a win for the sport. Much needed, right? You see the comment? You have any?
I mean, listen, people always wanted players to express themselves more. They're able to do that with their uniforms. So wear the uniform however you wanted. Listen, as a guy that played for a team that was black, white, and gray, a lot of my career, I had, specific cleats that were designed just for me. I couldn't use certain colors because I had to use the 3-team colors, which were black, white, and gray. So I was always jealous of guys that could use, red. Like I went to the Rangers and they had red, blue, and white. So I can use red and blue and black and all these different colors and make cooler cleats. So I don't get that. Like, who cares? Like, let people look however they want to look. If that's what they feel good and they can play in, and cool, it's just cleats and maybe an arm sleeve or whatever. I completely disagree with the uniforms. I mean, they are what they are. They're not changing. Marcus Stroman can do whatever he wants dressing wise. I mean, again, that's his prerogative. Pitchers only go 5 innings. That's the way they've developed them. That's the way it's not going to change because that's the way teams think they're the most effective. Pitch clock, I'm for. I hate the obstruction. I want more collisions. That's just me. And yeah, people talking about exit velocity and pitch velocity because that's what gets you called up. So that's what people are going to talk about.
I think that part's cool, though. I mean, as long as it's not the only thing you're talking about, I don't think that hurts. This dude, like in the past, you'd be like, yo, ball sounds different off this dude's bat. Or it looks like
you can just quantify it now.
Yeah.
And then the extra inning rule, listen, I mean, I was against it because I like the 19-inning games, and there's always a guy who was like 0 for 8 with like 6 punch-outs. But as a broadcaster now, I'm all for getting the games over with quicker because now they're over usually in an inning or two and saves arms, and I know why organizations wants to do it. Plus, I mean, there is some strategy to it. Not every guy's going up there trying to hit a home run every at bat because, Kratz, when you played in those long games, guys would just be like, I'm just going to try and end this. And it was like, that's why they went longer because nobody was like trying to hit a single and then bunt them. And now it's like, all right, well, at least we can get it over with in an inning or two. And then it's like whoever scores 2 runs usually seems to win now, right? So there is strategy to it. So I don't mind it. It'll grow on us. And he says like they do at East Cobb, which is where, Perfect Game and all them are. I think they do Texas tiebreaker where they put the bases loaded with 1 out and go from there. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. But listen, it'll grow on us. 10 years from now, we'll forget that it wasn't the way it always was.
I just don't – I love talking to people who are kind of get off my lawn because there's ways to really enjoy this game. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Listen, like the generation before you used to see a fly ball bounce and get caught, and that was an out back in the 1800s. Like things change. The game is at a great place. The speed of the game, I think, is the best change. I don't think in Major League Baseball needs to keep changing rules, and I think players need to be able to show who they are. And I think this is how we'll grow the game. So if anybody's like, get off my lawn, don't wear white socks, stop that.
Agreed on that front.
By the way, I played minor league baseball in Latam. Is that am I missing something here?
Oh, and in Latin America.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what
got it. Okay, that's why I was confused. I was like, what is Latam?
Yeah, I only know because there's an airline.
Yeah,
Latam.
I know, but I thought I was like, am I missing some place I've never heard of before?
Yeah. All right, let's get to our next guest. We're excited to have Todd Kalas back on the show. He called the no for Ronel Blanco. Todd, great to have you on. And first off, most importantly, can we get a voice check? Are you okay? You're just a week into the season. We need to keep the pitch count in check for the entire year. You've got a long season to go.
Yeah, I saw Awful Announcing was worried about my voice today, but we're good. We're good. I mean, that's the 5th no-hitter I've had a chance to call since 2019, which is crazy.
Oh, whoa. You just said no-hitter. I mean, you're never going to throw another one again. Because we had Blummer on yesterday, okay, and I already texted him. I mean, you guys, I watched the last 4 or 5 innings of that game. You guys would say anything except no-hitter. I'm like, how scared are you of saying no-hitter? Because you guys made it blatantly obvious. Well, he walked the first guy, and no one else has reached base, and this. And I was like, just say no-hitter, like especially Blum, because then if he would have jinxed it, I could have yelled at him.
So I've actually changed my tune on this, AJ. I used to be one of those guys that was like, you have to say no-hitter. It's crazy. You have no influence on anything that goes on the field from the booth. And that was always my stance. I'm like, I don't understand announcers that don't say it. It makes no sense because you're supposed to inform the viewer or the listener. Now, if I was on the radio, I'd be saying no-hitter every half inning. You have to keep telling people on the radio, no-hitter, no-hitter, no-hitter. On TV, it's a little different because they have the graphics. It's always up there. And I threw out like a little poll on what used to be Twitter. It's now X. But when it was Twitter, I threw out a poll. I was like, hey, as fans, do you guys care if the announcer says no hitter or not while it's going on? And it was literally like 82% hate it, 18% like you can't jinx it, don't worry about it. So I'm like, if I'm catering to my audience, then and everybody can see it on the screen, then why am I saying it? And we say it every which way but using those actual words. So yeah, I've changed my tune on it for whatever reason. I'm trying to go with what the fans want, and they hate when they hear no hitter. So whatever.
Acceptable.
I mean, I guess, but I just kind of think it's kind of funny. It's kind of it just makes me laugh because like we just had this discussion. Todd, you weren't on yet, but like the hitter can't hear you, the pitcher can't hear you, no one can hear you in the ballpark, right? So they don't know that you said no hitter.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, we don't have influence, and I don't believe in it, but I believe in the fans and what they want to hear. So that's why I do it.
You just didn't want to get yelled at. You just didn't want to get yelled at on Twitter. You just didn't want to get yelled at on Twitter. I know how it is.
If I'm on radio, I'm saying it every inning, every half inning, every other batter, 6 outs to a no-hitter, 5 outs to a no-hitter. I'm going all the way through. But I feel like on TV, there's a lot of other ways for fans to see it. And if they don't want to hear it, if they want to mute me because I'm saying no hitter, then I'd rather just have them keep the audio up and watch it on the screen where it's that big 0 on the hit column.
What if you said like none hitterings? Would that count?
A code word.
Yeah, there has to. Yeah, a safe
Yeah,
word.
Just call it
Zero.
Kratz.
Yeah,
I got no hits pretty much.
Todd.
No, we'll have to work on other ways to say no hitter without saying it. But yeah, it become a thing for us, and yeah, we don't usually say it while it's in progress.
But
Unless
the other
it's the
team
other
says
team.
it. The other team says it every chance they get.
Yeah,
exactly.
they want it dead.
And then
Yeah,
so
Barrios
they
is
don't.
throwing
They jinx in their own team. And then if you're in
If
the
Barrios
stand,
throws a no hitter today, if Barrios has a no hitter through 4 today, you'll hear it.
4. Okay, so the 4th. Okay,
That's the
then
mark.
but then if you're on the road, so if they do this on the road, right? Let's say you throw a no hitter on the road, like I don't know, let's say in Yankee Stadium, the fans as the pitcher walks off the field is like, "Hey, you're throwing a no hitter, dude!" And the pitcher's like, "No shit, I know that," but like they're no hitter.
Yeah, that's what happened last year. I would assume with Javier and the 3 relievers that threw the no at Yankee Stadium, or 2 years ago, I guess it was 22.
Todd, how unlikely was this no by Ronel Blanco? I mean, his story is pretty cool.
Probably as unlikely as it gets. There's definitely stories of guys who have thrown no hitters over the years who have been unlikely. This is right up there. Ronel did not make his major league debut until age 28. Didn't sign out of the Dominican until age 22. Most major league teams won't even look at you in the Dominican if you turn 20 and haven't signed yet. So he's 22 years old, working part-time at a car wash to help pay the bills and still trying to keep his baseball dream alive. Gets seen by Azacampo and Roman Aquimares. They're the same guys that found Framber Valdez at age 21 and Christian Javier at age 18 and signed those guys for $10,000. They signed Ronel for $5,000. Was a reliever up until last year when Dana Brown took over as the GM, and he said, "Hey, it's a big guy. He's got good stuff. Why can't he be a starter?" Basically only had 2 pitches up until this year, fastball slider, added a changeup, and that changeup was huge in allowing him to throw the no-hitter. But he had never gone more than 6 innings in his big league career. He had never gone more than 4 1/3 innings in any outing this spring, and he throws a 9-inning no-hitter. So that was about as unlikely as it gets.
Being the fact that he is the 5th starter on this team, what is this no-hitter? What kind of street cred does this no-hitter give to him when guys like Verlander start coming back? Guys start getting healthy and they start, they don't need him in the rotation anymore. How much leash does this give him?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you're right, Eric. He wouldn't have been in the rotation if Verlander and Urquidy were healthy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when JV comes back and when Urquidy comes back, how they're going to manipulate this. Because it's hard to take a guy out of the rotation who just threw a no-hitter. But, if I'm the other 4 guys in that rotation, well, Framber's already thrown 1. Javier's already been part of 2, including the World Series. But if I'm Hunter Brown and JP France, I'm thinking, hey, if the 5 guy can throw a no-hitter, why not me? So, for Ronel, this is going to go leaps and bounds towards improving his confidence in the future. And I'd imagine he can build on this and maybe put up a great year. Maybe he'll never leave that rotation when those guys are healthy.
And this was against the Blue Jays. I mean, it's not one of the worst teams in baseball. Their offense was more middle of the pack last year. You could make the case that it underperformed, but there's some good names in that lineup for Toronto. I mean, it's not like they were facing the A's or the White Sox, teams that obviously are going to lose 100 games. So let me ask you this, because you mentioned some of the gems that this team has found over the years in Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, and now Ronel Blanco. Is that the key to the Astros' longevity right now? You could make a case for that core that they built about 10 years ago at this point. But is the key to them never having to take a breath and lose a bunch of games to get themselves back up, the fact that they are finding players that don't cost much on the international market, right, in Latin America, signing them sometimes at a later stage than those players would usually sign, and they're becoming major players on the mound for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the key. I mean, you can point to the Verlanders and the guys they've signed out of the draft, Bregmans and Tuckers, but yeah, it's been what they've done in those countries. Getting Tuve out of Venezuela, the guys that have gone down there now, Oz is working for the Marlins now. But they went down there with an open mind and thinking, hey, just because they didn't sign at age 16, like a lot of kids do out of the Dominican, that doesn't mean we're going to give up on a kid who might be a late bloomer. You think about kids that go to college here in the States, they're getting drafted at age 21, 22 all the time. So for everybody to kind of ignore these kids like Blanco and Fromber because they turned 20, the Astros saw a little gap in their ability to go down there and find these guys when other teams maybe had given up on them. So that's been huge. You think about the last 4 no-hitters, including the World Series. Those 3 guys signed for a combined $25,000. I mean, that's remarkable. And we're not even talking about Luis Garcia, who's currently injured, but he signed for like the crazy sum of 20 after Fromber signed for 10, Javier signed for 10, and Ronel signed for 5. So hat tip to those guys who went down there and weren't kind of influenced by the other people giving up on these kids in the Dominican at a later age.
What about the pitch count? The pitch count got up to 105. Is this the most that, like, obviously for a no-hitter, it's low. You're seeing guys go 120. But this early in the year, to me, it's equivalent to like a 120 type of 125 type of pitch count. And you see guys, kind of crater down after it. Is there any talk of not pitching him as next time through the rotation?
We'll find that out when we go to the yard today. I'd imagine they're going to try and give him maybe a 6-day breather in between. And the fortunate thing is they have a day off in between, so they could at least give him 5 days, and maybe they'll try and mix somebody else in to give him an extra day. But I would imagine they're looking to possibly give him an extra day, Eric, because he was supposed to go 90 pitches max yesterday because he had only been built up for 4 1/3 innings, even though he had gone 6 outings. He hadn't thrown anywhere close to 100 pitches before in the spring. So for him to go over 100, and they were obviously high leverage pitches, even though the game was at hand, he was going for history. So yeah, I would think that they're going to be very careful with him. I doubt you'll see him on 4 days rest, maybe not 5 days rest. We'll find out though when Joe Espada and Josh Miller lay out the pitching plans here in the next day or two.
Todd, we have a fan question asking about Yordan. Travis said, can you ask what you're seeing so far from Yordan Alvarez?
Yeah, timing's off. Yordan he's a guess hitter, so he guesses a lot at the plate, and usually once he guesses right, the ball goes 400 feet. But the other day he guessed against Caleb Ferguson and took 3 fastballs for strikes, and he's like, I don't know what I was thinking there. I'm just kind of off on my timing right now. So he was probably guessing more than he should have in that at bat, thinking he was going to see a wrinkle when Caleb threw him 3 fastballs. But yeah, the last guy I think in this lineup that I would be afraid of being in an 0 for 20 or 0 for 30, which he's not, but he's off to a slow start, obviously, is Yordan. I think Yordan can flip the switch better than anybody. He hit a home run this year and beat in spring training without taking any live BP. He hit it in the cages, no live BP, hits a home run his first AB. Last year, he came out of the gates without any spring training and got off to a great start. So slow start for Yordan. He and Breggy off to a slow start, but Yordan's the last guy I worry about in this lineup.
It was nice of Ronel Blanco to kind of help everyone take their hands off the panic button, including the reliever depth. That was a concern. We talked to your broadcast partner yesterday, and he was like, I don't know, the reliever depth. And we were like, well, no one had to pitch besides Ronel, so that helps.
And nobody had to warm up. Literally not one arm warmed up yesterday, so that was great. They needed that because Abreu was down yesterday, Hader was down yesterday. They were going to have to piece it together to get to Presley, who was going to get the 9th inning if they needed him.
Yeah, they're fully loaded for the rest of this series against Toronto. Thanks for jumping on last minute with us, Todd, and congratulations on the call. It's always a super cool milestone moment, obviously, for the broadcast career, too. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys, thanks.
Thank you. Todd Kalas joining us on FT Live, and, of course, you can hear him every night calling the Houston Astros games. But fun one to cover. Didn't think we'd have a no-hitter this early in the season from a dude that barely made the team, and is a great story and just a great point. Sometimes people are like, how are the Astros still good? The names that he just mentioned are a huge reason why. When he's saying that you pick up a guy for $5K, $10K, $15, $20K, and you're essentially getting those players for free. And those are players, Kratz, that anybody could pick up. I mean, you're just signing them. It's not a draft. There's no international draft. That's just great scouting, period. I mean, some people are like, oh, the Astros, they're so analytical. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes there's a good balance there. Like, I mean, Jeff Bagwell's there. You know him better than I do. Isn't he kind of the pushback to say, hey guys, like, let's make sure that we're finding diamonds in the rough and not overdoing it on numbers.
Yeah, well, Dusty was that guy too.
Yeah.
When he was there, he would push back big time on certain things. So, I mean, listen, the Astros were super heavy analytics when Luna was still there. I think they've kind of gone more to the middle now. They're still heavy, but not as much as they were completely. So I think the Astros do as good a job as anybody. I mean, listen, they had a bad 4 games, and everybody's like, oh, no, what are we going to do? But it all went away last night.
Yep. It did.
This is why I don't want to cut down the minor leagues. And I know it's a personal thing for me, and the majority of the guys don't make it. This guy doesn't make it if they cut down the minor leagues 4 years ago when he's 26 and still hasn't pitched above AA for an entire season. Like, to me, that's like, this is why you don't, not even talking about the economics of the game, selling the game in small areas that don't have baseball, all that stuff. Like, this is a prime example of somebody that would not have gotten a shot. Nowadays, does not get a shot because they keep cutting more and more guys off the roster.
It's a good point. So some stakeholders in baseball are jealous of the football model. They're like, we do not have to pay a lick for our players to develop. They go to college, the colleges handle it. They pay tons of money for facilities. Now they pay the players to some extent. And then we get them as much more of a finished product than baseball does. That's part of the equation here. Because teams have to pay to develop their players.
It's all about money.
Right.
They're cutting it because of money. That's it. Let's be honest. It's money.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it cut down because of money, and they don't think that players – but then you lose the opportunity to find a Mike Piazza, Don Mattingly that were drafted later, and Erik Kratz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And plus you lose – listen, I talked to plenty of scouts, plenty of coaches, plenty of people now that are still heavily involved, and they're like, if you go into it and you're a 20th round pick, or sometimes these guys are undrafted, and you don't get off to a great start, they'll get rid of you right away because they don't have room for the players. There's no room for players to – oh, man, he had a bad month. All right, well, let's give him – I still see something in him in his BP. Those days are gone because honestly, it's because of money. That's it. It's money.
Yeah, and if you develop a little bit late, you're screwed. You're done. Because they'll say, well, go to an indie league, and then we'll find you. I'm like, I don't think so. I think most of the time they just hang it up, and they go take on a different career. And you're not getting the same training if you're playing in an indie league versus being in a major league organization, right?
True.
Yeah.
Completely.
Okay. Well, let's try and make some money here. Bet MGM Locks time. We'll backtrack to Monday. I'm hammering the Dodgers right now. That worked out. Kratz, I thought Gore had 6 Ks.
He had 6 Ks. I did not make it.
Yeah.
I love seeing the green up there, but yeah. I did not make it. He got a K right in the last inning.
Yeah.
That's okay. Mine lost because Andrew Abbott allowed 3 hits in the first inning and didn't give up another hit. Everything else
was crazy.
He gave up 3 hits in the first inning, and then over 8.5 hit because they went extra innings. Spencer Steer homer grand slam to make it 6-2. 2 outs, runner on third, and I forget who hit it for the Phillies. The pitcher for Cincinnati kicked it off his knee and then fell down and didn't get the third out. And that's how they hit the over. I mean, I'm like Pap Gnosticator, and man, he's got something going.
Pap, that is the greatest. Is it still called a hook if you get it on the good side? Because the hook's the 8.5. But anyway, that is the greatest cover that I have seen. The Orioles hit a walk-off 2-run homer when they only needed 1. And I can't get Mackenzie Gore to not have 1 less strikeout. Gosh darn it. But fortunately, I only put up 50 yesterday, so I'm glad I didn't lose totally.
Yeah, you've been a little light early on in the season with the Wild, but that's okay. It's early. The amount
of research put in is based on how much money I put into it. I'm not Pap. I'm not deep pockets Pap yet. Once I start winning something, then I'll start. I'm not Kratz Gnosticating.
Not yet. Okay, so it's Tuesday, and if you're in the BetMGM app, you get an FT heater boost. This will happen every Tuesday, all season long. We did this last year. It was a lot of fun. We were pretty successful on it too. So today we are ending the streak for the Yankees. The Yankees are undefeated, and we think they're going to lose tonight. So that's playing at plus 120 if you're getting the Diamondbacks to win and Zach Gallen to record at least 5 strikeouts. We're buying the strikeouts down. and that's getting boosted to plus 145 in the BetMGM app. You will see our logo. You'll see our promo boost right there. So if you want to play along, there it is. It's a sweet graphic too. The FT heater, there should even be a video in there at some point with Kratz explaining a little bit more about Gallen's work against the Yankees last year. His stuff was a little bit down first start, but I'm not concerned about it. I heard some of the stat nerds being like, oh no, and he pitched an extra month and whatever. I'm like, I'm not too concerned about it with Zach Gallen. I mean, dude shoves and he posts every year, and I feel like he knows what he needs to do. Sometimes if the velocity's down a couple ticks, I think he might be one of the few guys that actually controls that because he knows that he has to make it through another season, and he might not always need his A fastball for every pitch. So we've got the dub. That's my lock, so I'll start out. It's pretty easy. I'm going with the FT heater. All right, AJ, you want to get back on the winning side here? What do you got for us?
Sure. I got same game parlay. It's the Rangers-Rays game. Corey Seager, 1 RBI, 1 total base. He owns Zach Eflin in his career. Zach Eflin, 4 Ks because the Rangers strike out. And then Andrew Heaney only needs 2 Ks, and the Rays strike out. So if that gets me to plus 220, that's pretty simple. I know it's a lot, but also – and then also I have a bonus bet today, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but I don't really give a fuck. I'm betting the White Sox to win. They're plus 185. They got Garrett Crochet going at home against Reynaldo Lopez, the ex-White Sox great, as a starter for his first game in forever starting. So I feel like Crochet pitched really well against the Tigers. He's going to go out. The Braves have never seen him, so he's going to go out, dominate the Braves. They're going to win, they're just going to win somehow. They're going to find a way. The first base coach is going to show up. They're going to win the game.
I'm going to tell that with you, okay? I'm going to join you. Wait,
what's
just
the
to clarify
going to be there? That's what I'm nervous about.
That helps.
That helps the pitcher. That helps Crochet.
I'm just nervous. Everybody's going to be just wanting to get out of there. So maybe that's how the Braves, how they go down.
Wait.
So that's the whole point. Like the Braves are going in this week, beat them 9-0. They don't have first base coaches. They're not paying attention. This and that. And the White Sox are going to sneak up on them with their opening day starter and win a game.
What are you laying down, and are both part of your lock or just one?
No, the 220 is my lock. The 185 is just a bonus for all the people out there. 100 in each.
100 in each.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Kratz?
Love that. You'll be positive then too. I got I'm gonna go with the old Kratz K prop. I'm gonna parlay it with Bieber giving me 6 Mariners. He's gonna punch out, and Luis Castillo with 5. Bieber came out. I know he was throwing against a maybe lesser lineup, but not that much of a lesser lineup. And his Ks are up. He talked about it last year at the end of the year. He wanted to get a little bit more swing and miss in his game, and I think it's going to continue with the Mariners. My nervousness here is Castillo hitting his 5, so that's why I bought it down a little bit. It's at minus 110, and I'm putting 100 up.
You guys are exquisite with your picks. I love it. First bet offer for $1,500 back in bonus bets if you get up to that point in the bets that you place down. And when you use the bonus code FOUL, download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into that account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks, Jamie Foxx. All right. I hate to do this every day, but we're going to have to do it again. Injuries suck. Josh Young, hit by a pitch, breaks his wrist. He's had a lot of shit already in his career. He fractured his thumb last year. I was looking back at some of his other injury history, AJ. Foot, shoulder, some significant injuries. And this one is just a hit by a pitch, which, I don't know, not adds insult to injury, but you know what I'm saying? Where sometimes there's a guy who's already dealing with it. He's had some chronic injuries or some injuries that have popped up where you're like, is this guy going to be able to stay on the field? And then when you get hit by a pitch, it's like, geez. And the season just started. It's a really good player. This was a Rookie of the Year candidate last year until he got hurt. And we'll talk about the replacements in a sec, but I don't want to say a big part of the offense, but this is an above average hitter, or projected to be one. And he's not going to be on the field probably for 2 months usually for a broken wrist.
Yeah, it sucks. I see it, the way it happened, the check swing, I broke my wrist same way. Get the back arm, a guy runs one up and in, you get you right here, breaks your wrist. Listen, this is the guy they were counting on. There's kind of part of their young core, right? They have Seager and Simeon as kind of the older guys, and you have Young, Langford, and Carter as kind of their younger guys. So part of it, he went through it last year. He had some injuries last year, but this guy's an above-average hitter, a great third baseman, and he was a big part when he came back for them in the postseason last year. So he'll be missed, but luckily the one thing the Rangers have, they have enough depth around him to kind of cover it. They did it last year, and they'll continue to do it this year.
Weren't they talking about possibly trading Ezekiel Duran in the offseason? Now, look, they need him to step in. I know Josh Smith stepped in a little bit last year too, but Duran and his one eye black, he's going to get a lot of time, and he was really good for him last year. So I think they're going to slide him over to the spot at third.
I think that was one of the rumors that popped up on Dylan Cease. Remember?
Was it Dylan Cease? Were they in on somebody else too? I think it was Dylan Cease because it was at the end of the of the offseason.
It was Cease. It was a Cease trade rumor that someone popped up with and said maybe it's Duran, and I don't remember the other two prospects that they brought up, but I don't think you want to trade from your big league team if you're a defending champ. And this is where a super versatile player like this can fill in. But Justin Foscue got called up. Maybe I'll ask a question to JJ Cooper on Hot Sheet about Foscue. Dude can hit, hasn't really had a position. So we'll see. I mean, now the injury list for the Rangers has the pitching crew that'll come back at some point, Scherzer, DeGrom, Molly. And then you've got Nathaniel Lowe and Josh Young. So half your infield is out.
J-Mo's busy. Jamie Reed,
that's their dude.
Their trainer, rehab guy, is busy along with Lucky Malucero. They're busy this time of year.
I will say this. I'm not that worried about the Rangers yet. You know, if there's more problems, okay, but I'm not that concerned. I mean, will they win the division? I don't know, but I'd be pretty shocked if they don't make the playoffs. It's a really good offense with or without those guys.
Is Foscue, is he a third baseman?
I don't know what he is. That's the problem. They've been trying to figure out the position for him.
You can't just throw, and AJ might have a different opinion, but we just talked about Matt Chapman. You can't just throw anybody at third. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, he's a second baseman. We'll kick him at third. Like, third is, my opinion, I think third is a very undervalued position, and that's why you get guys who are perennial Gold Glovers there that are so valuable to teams that when they lose them, it's just a spot that I hope he's a third baseman that's played in the minor leagues. But to me, I don't see why Duran wouldn't step in unless there's some kind of major splits. That's not.
I can give you a little tidbit on Justin Foscue from BA. They have him as one of their top prospects. Love his offensive potential, but he does not have the range, mobility, or arm strength to stick up the middle or at third base. So that's what they're trying to figure out right now.
So what is he listed as?
I think he's listed usually at second or third. I'm pretty sure. But I was having a conversation with someone within the Rangers probably a month ago about this very topic. They were like, love the bat. Haven't been able to figure out a position for him to stick with. And obviously he's not going to be our DH. Or maybe he is one day, but at least not right now.
I mean, they just got a DH, just got called up and was your pick for Rookie of the Year.
Wyatt Langford can play the outfield as well, but I get it. Trying to see if they have any other word here. Oh, here we could eventually be. Oh no, yeah, DH. I mean, they're trying to figure it out. So whatever. There's other dudes.
Wyatt Langford tried to score from first on a ground ball to short. Wyatt, listen, only a select few of us can do that. Okay.
How did you do that? You mentioned you glazed over that one time. What happened on that play?
I was stealing because I have wheels.
Yep.
It was a hit and run.
Yep.
Alexi Ramirez hit a ground ball like kind of in the 5-6 hole. So
Alexi!
the shortstop and third baseman both kind of converged, and I just never slowed down. I just kept running, and I hit third, and Derek Norris was the catcher, and he was at third, and I just never stopped, and I just kept going right by him, and the pitcher was, who knows what the pitcher was doing. Might have been Blevins. Jeremy Blevins.
Really? Jerry Blevins?
Might have been him. I don't know. But anyways, I just never stopped, and there was never a play. I just ran all the way around.
Norris,
No, it wasn't even a throw, nothing. Because the two guys were gone, so he saw me going, like a bunt. So he went to third, and I just kept going right by him. No throw. Not even a throw.
Who
Just
fielded the
RBI?
ball?
Third baseman.
So why did the shortstop not roll around? Why did he not? Norris. D. Norris.
And he came down the third baseline, and I went right by him. Whoop.
That guy didn't blink.
I think Chris Carter was playing first, and he looked up and was like, oh, there's no one to throw it to. All right. And he ain't beat me in a foot race.
That'd be great if he just threw it and tried to peg you. Pegs are in. Oh, what the?
Sadly, though, for Wyatt Langford last night, the pitcher was paying attention, so he got banged at the play. But it was cool to see. And then, listen, there's a great play. If you can do it, Kratz trust your high school team. Guy on first, you got a guy with some speed. If you have him steal, now you got to trust the guy bunting. Buck Showalter used to do this all the time, drive me crazy. Have your batter bunt it to third, make the third baseman field it, and just tell your runner to never stop.
Yep.
He'll almost make it every time. Because usually the catcher's not paying attention. Usually it happened to me in Texas. I was the third, and I was there, and our first baseman tried to hit me on the run. He threw it up the line. The guy slid and scored.
From first?
From first.
Wow.
What are you going to do?
I like
That's how Jeter got hurt.
Jeter got hurt at third, yeah.
The Ken Huckabee play.
Yeah. Yeah, but Huckabee was in there. Listen, I was there, but our first baseman kind of caught it and was off, oh gosh, what's he doing? He threw it, rushed, threw it away, the run scored. Right? It's a great play. If you have a guy you trust to bunt the ball down and can make the third baseman field it, it's almost unstoppable. Because the shortstop goes to second, right? Second baseman rolls around, right? So there's nobody there, so you just keep going, and then you'll make third almost every time if you trust your guys.
One more question on the AL West too, because we mentioned it for a minute yesterday. Do you feel like the Mariners have enough offense? I mean, I'm just going off paper because it's too early in the season to look at the statistics.
Well, they're counting on Haniger to come back and have a big year, right?
Yes.
Cal Raleigh will be fine. J-Rod will have his normal year.
Yep.
Right, but they have Josh Rojas playing third. He's not known for his bat.
Mm-hmm.
J.P. Crawford is going to have a big year. They got rid of Kelnick.
Mm-hmm.
France didn't have a good year last year.
Arias is going to split time at third too.
He's not an offensive guy.
Hasn't had a hit yet. No.
So I don't know. This has always been their question. Do they have enough offense?
Like let me read the lineup from yesterday because it's pretty much the A lineup. Crawford leading off, then Julio. Jorge Polanco is your 3-hitter. Mitch Haniger is your cleanup hitter. Mitch Garver 5. Cal Raleigh 6. Ty France 7. Dom Cantone 8. Luis Urias 9.
Doesn't scare you. If I'm an opposing team going in there, I'm not like, oh man, this is the 27 Yankees I'm facing.
Is that lineup?
It's a good lineup, but it's not great. It's not a World Series lineup for me. They don't have enough. Like, I don't know.
Because I watch a lot of Mariners games, Mr. Insomnia over here, and I love Dave Sims on the call. So watching, I'm like,
The World Series lineup?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I get it. The Rangers just won. They were an offensive team. But you're winning in the playoffs because of your pitching. And they're rolling out.
You got to get hits, too.
I get it. You got to get hits. But there's a lot of unders in the playoffs. And to me, you win the championships based on. So to say, is it a World Series lineup? I think anytime you have an MVP candidate in your lineup, I feel like you have a chance. I think they're thin. I guess you're saying that Mitch Haniger is going to carry this team if he's sitting fifth. Because if you don't have Cal Raleigh any closer than fifth, I think you're a little thin. I think you're a little weak. But I don't necessarily say it.
Yeah.
You what?
Mitch Haniger's hitting fourth for him.
Isn't it Haniger fifth and then
Raleigh
sixth?
Haniger fourth, Garver fifth. Yeah, Cal sixth.
Oh, okay. And again, I guess I'm talking about one spot in the lineup, but there's damage there. Mitch Garver knows how to, he knows how to put together at bats. To me, the biggest thing, they can't strike out so much. It's fine if you have a couple guys that strike out, but if you're getting up there with like 2 or 3 guys that are having 180 plus strikeouts and nobody's hitting 40 tanks in your lineup, to me, there's a disconnect there. And I know Seattle's tough to hit in. I'm not saying it's not, but it's a World Series pitching staff, but maybe just short.
That's all. Because I've had a lot of combos with Mariners fans on social media this offseason, and I love the pitching, and I think now's the time. This is a World Series winning pitching staff, starting and relieving, but I don't see it. It's not there for me. And you can pitch around Julio. That's who I'm pitching around. Isn't that the dude you circle in the pregame meetings?
Of course.
Easy? Yeah. Do you circle anyone else?
That's what I'm saying. It's a good lineup. It's not a great lineup. There's no one. If I go into this series, I'm thinking, all right, if our pitcher's halfway decent, I can pitch them because they strike out a lot. Just keep them in the ballpark, and we'll probably beat them.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then lastly, before we get to slap, some fans wanted to get our thoughts on Shota Imanaga, the most highly debated pitcher in the offseason.
He pitched great.
Yeah.
It was the Rockies, so let's take a deep breath.
Wind.
It was 20 degrees. The wind was blowing straight in. He pitched great. I'm happy. Listen, one of the most debated guys. He pitched great in his first start. Overreaction to Yamamoto's first start. Now all the Cub fans are overreacting that Imanaga is going to be a Cy Young. Maybe he will be, but let's get him get 10, 15 starts in and see where he's at. But he looked good.
Mm-hmm.
No fastball, changeup combo. But again, the Rockies aren't the 27 Yankees.
I got a poster of the 27 Yankees over there in the weight room, so that makes me laugh. But I liked his emotion. I like the fact that pitch right there, to me, if he can throw inside, when I watched his stuff last year from the MPB, from when he was playing in Japan, I didn't see many 94s. I saw it on the list, but I didn't see many 93, 94s. If he can do that, it's impressive to me because he's going to have to throw into righties because they're just going to stack lineups with guys that can hit the heater and don't swing at anything down in the zone. So you come out and you get 9 punchies in 6 innings. I don't care what the wind is. 9 punchies is 9 punchies.
Sometimes people say that a pitcher from Japan needs to adjust to the baseball and MLB. You ever think that it could help some guys? Not everyone comes over and says, oh, this baseball, it's so difficult for me. Maybe it helps him. I don't know. It's way past my intelligence level on help. But you know how sometimes they're like, oh, they got to get adjusted and it's a new baseball. Give them time.
Yeah.
He
is all spring training.
Right. He had time.
He had a lot of punch outs in spring training.
Yeah.
He had like 25 in like 13 innings. I like how it's just an awkward pitch. It's coming out of his hand at a different angle, a different height. I'm fearful that when he has to start throwing that fastball more, that guys are just going to lay off the split and be able to catch up to the heater. But again, if he's able to hit 94s, that's different than the 90 to 92 that I saw from last year.
Yep. My prediction also was that Imanaga was going to start super hot. For this scenario, it's cold, wind's blowing in. It's a different look for hitters. The league is insane. They adjust. So I like him. I just think there's some fans already that are like, he's a 1. Like, no. And then there were a lot of people saying he's a 5 or a 6. And I was like, no, I think he's probably a 3. Is he a playoff starter? I think so, because he can pick up punch outs, but you'd be concerned about the home run ball. We'll see. Too early.
Long way to go.
Long way to go. Let's slap. First off, just letting everyone know about the FT network expanding. Dodgers territory is back on Thursday. They had a new addition yesterday, and they spoke to Will Smith. Good get. They went over the 10-year extension that he signed. He's like, I'm a catcher through and through for that whole ride. But if you want to listen to that conversation, you can go find it wherever you get your pods, or it's on the FT YouTube channel with Alana and Clint. You can catch the show live, noontime West Coast. All right, the Pirates have a new food item called the Renegade. It is a foot-long hot dog topped with potato pierogies, pot roast pickles, and onions. And I hope that AJ has a Pirates game this year because he will have to take that down. Do you have Pirates on your schedule?
I don't right now, but if they're good in the second half, I could, and I will crush that thing.
That's up your alley.
Oh, that thing. Who could eat all that? I would ask for seconds. Are you kidding me? But I would ask for potato pierogies. I don't want cheese or onion pierogies.
This is coming from the future manager of Team Poland. Like this is your bread and butter.
I don't know that I don't love pot roast, so that would be an interesting thing. But a hot dog, check. Pierogies, check. Pickles, onions, check. And then would you put mustard on that? Sour cream? What do you put on?
That was gonna be my ask.
What do you put on it? What's the condiment you go with?
If you're going Chester cheese, I feel like you need to go ketchup. I know the ketchup's going to ruin the pot roast
and the pierogies and the pickles. And
it becomes basically a cheese hot dog for you. If you go Chester cheese pierogi, but you can easily take that down. There's no doubt. That's easy. There's a lot of things I second guess about you, but that is not one of them. You are easy peasy.
True.
Next up, Jason Bourgeois. Is this from today? Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Want to read the caption?
Somebody said you were looking for me. Here I go. Well, you were there that day, but where were you yesterday?
That was sunny. It was a sunny day. He didn't want to come out when it was raining. Bourgeois, no play in the rain.
I mean, I love Jason. He was an awesome teammate and a great dude, but cool that you're obviously answering, but again, you should have said somebody was looking for me. I was taking a dump. I don't know. Where were you?
Can we bring him on? Is it worth it?
We could. I don't know if it's worth it. We could try, but I mean, he clearly doesn't. No one wants to talk about it. It's like who shot JFK? It's a conspiracy theory.
Where was Bourgeois?
Yes, Kratz Hatz. What do you got? A good one today.
I'm debating. I'm trying to debate who's going to lose first. Scotty Braun in his FT heater, the Yankees, the Pirates. Who knows? So I got to wear a Pirates hat. The old camo John here. It fits super well too. Huge hat. Easy on, easy off.
It does. It looks like it has extra width. Like, when you get the shoe that has, what do they call, you get, I'm a size
extra
12,
wide. I'm 2E.
Wide.
It's like Pedro Alvarez style here.
I like.
He always had to tuck his ears into his hat.
I think the Yankees lose before the Pirates. I think the Yankees lose tonight. The Pirates win today, and then maybe the Pirates lose tomorrow.
Pirates are off today, so that's why I said it.
And then they're not losing today. They're off today? Oh, because the Nats opener, so they play tomorrow.
So then it's Scott Braun and the Pirates are the only ones left.
We're undefeated.
Stop. Undefeated. Oh,
no,
and Pap.
Don't forget about the Tigers.
I'm watching Casey Mize tonight. That's the game
Tigers.
I'm circling.
We forgot about
Tigers too. That's right.
No, I want to see Casey Mize.
Well, then who wins first? Marlins, White Sox.
I got the Marlins winning tonight.
Marlins, White Sox, Mets. Who wins first?
White Sox. Crochet.
I hope so. I bet on it.
Yep. There you go. Hey, Hot Sheet is coming up next, the debut of the Baseball America show that we're a part of. So if you're watching FT right now, you don't have to touch anything. It's cool. Just leave your screens alone. Just let this flow into the best of the prospect world with JJ Cooper and Carlos Collazo, Ben Badler, and many others. Just kind of dance your way right into the next show. So we're excited about it. New partnership. If you want to get more information on it, you can check it out on our Twitter handle, VA's Twitter handle, or you can backtrack on the show later. But we will see everyone on Hot Sheet, and we'll see everyone else on FT tomorrow.